Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Najwa Mitirasli from DUB 3A. Matric number is 15 DUB 19F1056. So today I want to talk about the tender document and tender table document. So let's start. So what is the definition of tender document? A tender document is a document that contains all the information required by the contractor to assess the proposed project and subsequently make an offer. A tender is a submission by a prospective supplier in response to an invitation to tender. It's made an offer for the supply of good or service. So generally, tendering refers to the supplier required to complete construction work, rather than the process of selecting consultancy services, which is commonly referred to as employment. So the function of this document is tenderers know about the project clearly and give to them to fill in the rest. So tender document must provide for project worth more than 50,000, and a table tender document are also provide two types. One, tender document based on bill of quantity, and the second is tender document based on drawing specification. And next, what is definition of tender table document? So the tender table document is a set of a document provided by the quantity surveyors used for the reference of the tenderer who entered the tender. So this document is not sold because this document used as a reference for tenderer before the bidder make a decision to enter the tender. Usually, before the tender is invited, the government agency that manage the procurement will provide the tender table document. The document contain project-related items and offer including contract term, tender form, drawing specification. So now what is different between tender document and tender table document? Tender document is a set of documents sold to contractor, but tender table document, a set of documents are displayed on the desk in the special room at the appointed time. So tender document, this document is to be the contractor owner, but the tender table document as a reference to tenderer to get information and checking document before enter and submit the document tender. And then tender document. Tender document is sold to interest tenderer, but tender table document is not to sold to the tenderers. Tender document is unlimited number of document, but tender table document is limited number of this document.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Azati Kamila binti Muhammad Azmi. I would like to explain the step to prepare a tender document. This document is prepared by a cost consultancy organization. The steps to prepare a tender document that we need is content of the tender document, which is a bidding document. First and foremost, the nature and the number of tender document depend on the contract types such as remeasurement contract, lump sum contract, or reimbursable contract. Forget a complete tender document that also called the bidding document. All the following sections will be included normally. They have 11, so instruction to bidders, bidding data, condition of contract data, form of tender, draft form of agreements, specimens of all related bonds and guarantee, specification, set of tender drawings, BOQ, and any others. Next is the condition of contract. This document sets out the obligations and rights of the parties and details conditions under which a subsequent contract will operate if a standard form of contract such as the FIDIC red books is used will not be sent out with the tender document. It is assumed that the tenderers will have a copy. Next steps are to read the instruction to bidders. All the bidders will give the necessary instruction pricing in these sections. Thus, It is important to read all the instructions before starting the pricing carefully, in addition to make sure all the pricing are correct. Last step is a schedule of prices as an alternative to specification. In the case of without quantities contracts, bidder may be supplied with a schedule works. In this schedule, we have to insert the works of the contract under the appropriate headings. The bidders may need to price this schedule. So for the last about preparation of the tender document, that basically used for large projects, and preparation of this document takes for a long time, which involves quantifying each element in the building. So that's all for me.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Anisha Ira binti Shamsuddin and my number card matric is 50 DUB19 F1044. Okay, today I will explain about function of the table tender document. I found 4 points for this function. This is first, reference before the tender decide to enter the tender, and second, reference if there is misinformation in a tender document bought by tenderer. Third is reference for the tender before the bidder makes the discussion to enter the tender. And lastly is basic for the preparation of contract document letter.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Syafiqah binti Muhammad Ahir and I'm from DUB 3A. My number matric is 15 DUB 19F1014. So for today, I'll continue to explain for a few contents of tender documents based on base of quantities and also based on drawing and specification, including form of tender, specification, letter of acceptance, summary of tender, preliminaries, preambles, prime and cost sum. The first is form of tender. Form of tender is a requirement that the tenderer must fill out. The item that need to be filled such as first, name and address of, second, the tenderer price with the words and number, the third one is a project completion period, fourth, signature and stamp of the tenderer, and the fifth is signature of witness with name. For the explanation, tenderers are required to comply with the terms of the tender. In the legal sense, tenderer should meet on this form and not only be in substance but must be fully filled in carefully by the tendering project. The second one is the specifications. Things that involved with the contract are the work included in the tender, minimum quality construction materials required including the construction work. The third is explaining how the work should be done. And the fourth is minimum quality of job. For the explanation, there is a standard specification that can be used in any standard specification have more advantages. And I let you know that the selection of the standard specification must be compatible with construction to be performed. For your information, there have 4 companies involved in producing standard form of tender, which is JKR or PWD. PWD stands for Public Work Department and JKR stands for Jabatan Kerja Raya that get involved in government project. PAM, Malaysian Institute of Architecture or Penubuhan Arkitek Malaysia, and it's only get involved in sector of private project. The third one is CIDB, Construction Industry Development Board, and the last one is IEM that involved in civil works, which is it stands for Pertubuhan Jurutera Malaysia. The third one is a letter of acceptance. This is a notice to the tenderer regarding the receipt of work from the client. The letter contained name of client, name of contractor, project title, contract price, completions of work, and conditions of contract. For the explanation, client or superintendent officer will use this form to make agreement acceptance that tender. The second is this form must be signed with 2 parties, send it back to the client. And the third one is contractor must keep this form as a future evidence and reference. Next is a summary of tender. They have two. First is contract based on drawing and specification, and the third one is a 4BQ. For the explanation about contract based on drawing and specifications, they have no list of quantities involved, and the summary of tenders is required for the tenderer to enter a price based on the element of work involved. For BQ, it's different. There has no codes or standard in preparation. Second, the price for tender will be obtained through the tender summary, and the third one is can be difficult to deal with past conflict situations as well as the tender assessment stage. Next is the preliminaries, also known as general item under CESMM. These sections contains the definition of the scope of work. It is initial words are integral parts explain things that are not measured in the list of ingredients or indicated in the tender but need to implement and facilitate the operation of the project. This section is an essential part to be priced by the tenderers for part of the project cost. In general, it refers to matters that are required or performed by the contract before, during and after the completion of the project include information or perform the procedure but not the cost. The second is directions or condition of contract that must be followed. The project include information or perform the procedure but not the cost. Second is directions or conditions of contract that must be followed. Third is the matters which must be implemented and cost. Fourth, things should be done by the contractor before starting work. Fifth, things done or required during the construction period. And the sixth is things are only required at the end of construction's process. The next is preambles. What is preambles? Preambles or preliminary requirements are descriptions of the type and quality of materials and work that are not stated in drawing or other document. A preambles might include a description of the parties to the contract, a description of the competence or the parties to the contract, the background to the document, a summary of a negotiation, tendering procedure, the objective of the project, and the last one is other related document. Next is prime and cost sum. A prime cost sum or PC sum is an allowance usually calculated by the cost consultant for the supply of work or materials. The allowance is exclusive of any profit markup or attendance such as materials handling, scaffolding, and rubbish clearance by the main contractor.
My name is Nur Afika binti Abdul Mubin. My matric number 15 UB 19F1016. Form of tender. A form used by tenderers to enter the tender. In this form must be completed with the tender price and completion of the construction work to be done by the contractor. This form is available in the tender document, which is in the form a letter from tenderers to the client, stated willingness to perform work in accordance with the price and construction period for this project. The tender form is a requirement that the tenderers must fill out. Among the items that need to be filled are as follows: name and address of the tenderers, the total tender price written with the word and numbers, project completion period, and signature of witness with name. The step to fill in form of tender. Name and address of the tender, tender reference number, total of tender price, project completion periods, acceptance of tender and condition, confirmation of the country law, reference to other documents, signature and stamp of the tender, and signature of witness with name.